Hi everyone, my name is Adele. I'm a fourth grade teacher in Vallejo. I'm in my third year of teaching, so I taught 1 year in Vermont and then 2 years over here. This is my second year, so I guess 1.5. Today we're going to be talking about the lesson plan template as well as my experiences with other templates, the Alliant template, and then specific sections that I believe might be more challenging for me personally. So we're going to just dive right in. When we're talking about that lesson plan, the first thing you're going to make sure that you have, and that's laid out in that Alliant template, is that grade, subject, and then that lesson summary. So making sure just right at the top you get that key information so you know what to expect for the rest of the template, and making sure that it's also developmentally appropriate. How is theory applied in this lesson, and then ISTE standards, state and common core standards as well. That's all going back to what is the theory that you are applying, what's the theory of education that's coming through here, what is also part of your educational philosophy might shine through there, and then the standards that you're going to be meeting and ensuring that your students are meeting. Then you're going to dive into your measurable objectives. So what is it that you want your students to take away? What's going to be the main point of that lesson? It's also really helpful to frame this for the students and show them this so that they know the point that they're reaching towards. Your assessment is going to be the data point that you're taking from that measurable objective. So that's going to be the assessment that you're giving a student, either formative or summative. After that, you're going to jump into your diverse learners. So what are the needs of the learners that are in your community and your classroom? So you're going to be looking at the kiddos who might receive special education services, English language learners, your kiddos who are excelling, and then your kiddos who are right on the brink. So they're almost there, but they just need a little bit of a push and what they might need. From there, you're also going to go into differentiation. So what are the different modalities that you might need to include and will include? So that might look like what are the visual frames that you're using, sentence frames, graphic organizers, manipulatives, that sort of thing. From there, you're going to jump into classroom management. So what are the tips and tricks from your teacher toolkit that you're going to use and employ to keep those kiddos engaged? This is a section that I highlighted that might be a little bit more challenging for me, not because of the management specifically, but because I modify my classroom management to be very specific to my groups of kiddos, and I teach 2 separate classes. So when I'm writing a lesson plan, I would need to have 2 completely different management sections based on those groups. Because, for example, one of my kiddos, they need immediate gratification and they need those short-term incentives, versus my other group of kiddos do better with a larger goal that's in the long term. From there, you're going to jump into your opening. So that is just activating that prior knowledge for those kiddos. Then introduction of new material. So that is what is new that day, new that lesson. What are they going to be grappling with? Then jumping into guided practice. So that is how they use, how do they employ, how do they manipulate that information, and start to accommodate it as well. I highlighted this as being more difficult because I struggle sometimes in the guided and the release into independent, and sometimes I go too fast. And so I know that I'm going to have to take time to make sure that I reflect and go through about what exactly that looks like. Then there is a release into independent practice. So that's those kiddos really showing you what they know is their time to shine, but it's also a great time where you can circulate and you can see where they're at and what those misconceptions are, and you can address them in the moment. Then you're going to jump into your closing. That's your assessment time. That's the time to get that data and see what the kiddos absorbed. What do you need to do? Do you need to reteach? Are you going to move on? That sort of thing. From there into homework, if you are someone who does give homework, collaboration, who are the other stakeholders that you're pulling in? Do you have an awesome group of parents that you can pull in? Do you have another grown-up in the kiddos' lives? Is there a community resource? Is there a school resource? Are you pulling in a para, an ed specialist? Are you tagging in the science teacher and you guys are going to do a collaborative lesson? That sort of thing. Social emotional skills that the kiddos are going to be learning and working on in that lesson. And then the professional teaching standards. So what standards are you going to meet and which ones are you going to demonstrate? Then the reflection section, and this is another one I highlighted as being potentially more challenging for me personally, not because of the need to do the reflection, but taking the time to do it before and after. Just because I have found when teaching, there's just prep time doesn't really exist. And I know this is going to be an academic assignment, but just going through and thinking about lesson plan templates in general, the space to do that reflection, unfortunately, I have just not seen represented in the field. So that's part of why I highlighted it as potentially being more challenging. After that, you're going to jump into your references. So where did you get your information? Making sure that credit is going where credit's due. Then you're going to wrap it up. All right, overall, my school uses Wit and Wisdom for our lesson plan templates, so they do look a little bit different from this. The beginning section, so with the standards, summaries, that sort of thing, objectives, is listed out all on the first page, so that's very similar. And honestly, a lot of it just has different names. So for example, we have a welcome instead of an opening, or a launch being introduction of new material, and then you jump into like the learn and teach, which would be those guided practices, and then the closing. All right, well, thank y'all very much for your time, and I hope you have a great day or night wherever you may be.